Welcome back to another reaction for Witch Hat Atelier episode 6. To be honest, I feel like you need to train. If you cannot make your magic circle with any interruptions, that is not going to be good. You need to learn how to do this without jumping at every point. Granted, they are very young still, but you did it, or you are a witch for a long time, in contrast to Coco, so you should be better than this. But I still like that we have the hopeful callback to how they make circus. By the way, what's a... Why? Oh, for a moment I was like, why is it reflective? It's a shadow. It just is a shadow. They didn't need to do this. I heard this about a different show where they were like, making a reflection is essentially double the work, especially if you have the real person and then a reflection of the person. It's going to do double work because you can't just copy it. You need to then flip it, etc. It's a different viewpoint. Similar to here, you don't need to add the shadow. It is going to make the scene feel more complete, but it is extra work for not as much of a payoff. And for some reason, it looked like a reflection to me, but it's a shadow, which I'm assuming it's mostly because the shadow is just the tip and not the rest of the pen. Maybe it is reflective. What do I know? Also nice that we have all the little bits and pieces that all the ink being scattered on the little piece of paper. Where is she going? What did she have in her hand? Oh, she just brought her tools with her? Okay. I do wonder, is the ink-colored fingers, are they permanent? Is that maybe a characteristic of the ink itself, or is this normal? Working so much with color that your fingers start taking it on. It's just bit by bit, over months, over years, a little bit here, a little bit there, until you just have colored fingers. Is that true? Okay.
光が弱い。それに不安定だわ。
Okay. For a moment, I was like, how can we decide how long the circle is? But they did tell us. It was, I believe, the size decides how long, and was it the size? Or was the size the strength? And how orderly you make it is how long. One of the two. I'm guessing messenger? If I had to guess. But okay, she went outside to make a magic circle. It is, or it was some kind of light beam. So probably not the best inside. You cannot really see the effect because she was looking at the top. And it was still unstable, so she's still not as good as she wants to be. Which is fair enough. I mean, this circle, it's fine. It's a good start, but there are a little bit, I see a little bit of an error here and there, and the circle around is a little bit wobbly.
まだヘロヘロ。カルンで自分に合うペン選べなかったな。
Very true. We just resolved the incident and went home, I guess. Never got a pen. Not that she could get a pen. I mean, if we go by anime logic, then the son or grandson or whatever he was is going to make her pen. I have no idea how her pen is going to look like. Because it can't be a normal way, right? I'm assuming it looks a little bit bulky at the top or at the front, so she can grip it better. Something like that.
彩色石なら綺麗にまっすぐ描けるけど、小さな紙に描くには相性が悪いし。
Okay.
私あの時描ける魔法なんて一つもなかった。
You did cast your fireball flame thingy, right? Now, how she's explaining it? Maybe we are going to change the paper as well. There's no requirement the paper has to be like it is. One thing she could do, as example, on imagine sigil. But imagine you have the circle booklet thingy, and instead of having on one side the two holes, you have it in the middle. Again, maybe it doesn't work too well with the sigil, would have to test. But if you could make a hole in the middle where you put, or not a pole, but it's like a stake in the middle, where you put the paper in instead of at the side where it is connected at the moment, you could just put the pen down and rotate the piece of paper instead of having to draw a circle. Would help probably quite a bit, mostly for the circle itself, not for the rest. But maybe ideas like this is what we are going to go down, that she's going to try some more orthodox versions of drawing a magic circle, right? Or casting seal.
先生はアイデアも魔法に大切な要素って言ってくれたけど、ダメダメ、考えてると余計に落ち込んじゃう。とにかく慣れるのが
What?
慣れるのが大事。あと繰り返し練習頑張れ。うおー。
The problem is, even if you would train non-stop, the pen is not correct for you. You need the right tool. You need a better pen, and then you can learn with that. Because the worst part that could happen is you go through, you train with this pen, a couple months go by, you are somewhat good, now you go and get the real pen that is good for you, and you feel so much better, it flows so much easier, but now you have to relearn everything, or you have to adapt everything. So it's another learning period, more or less wasting a lot of the learning period you had already. So probably better to just get the new pen ASAP. Maybe ask your teacher again, hey, how is my pen? Maybe he already bought a pen. Maybe the pigeon has a pen. I don't know. But I feel like it's more important to get a new pen.
こんなところで寝ると風邪をひくよ。
寝るつもりはなかったんですけど。
No one is saying you were trying to sleep. Sometimes you are just very exhausted and you fall asleep. You should listen to your body. Even a small nap would probably work wonders. There is no benefit learning or trying to learn while you are sleep deprived. It is just going to be negative. Go get some sleep. Get a little nap. Train a little bit more. And then go to sleep and fully energized go back to learning.
ひくよ。
寝るつもりはなかったんですけど、急に眠気が。このままじゃ私、図書の塔の試練をクリアして絵本を見つけるなんて。
How long are you training at this point? Couple weeks, maybe a month. Relax. You don't need to rush. Rushing is going to be negative. By the way, so she tried to make this one sigil. No idea what it is, what it does. I believe it is wind. Wind into the middle. I'm assuming it's maybe the shoe sigil that gives you the lift. I'm assuming. But it has additional circles around. So that's interesting. Because we know the shoes have the normal castings here, and then they have like a double circle at the back. And the question is, what exactly does that do? Additionally, what is the diagram on the other side? Is that, I assumed for a moment it would be a different casting seal, but maybe it is more or less a comparison of the elements, or an element table. No, I wouldn't call it table, but diagram, because we have fire and water opposite, so these may cancel out. Then we have the other one, another one, which I assume water, earth kind of deal. Maybe it's like, hey, these elements, they fight each other, so they don't work well. But fire and wind works good, fire and earth works good, but fire and water doesn't really work kind of deal.
とても。ってまたマイナス思考になっちゃってる。違うんです。頑張れます。魔法は好きなんです。
ココ。ちょっとついてきてくれるかな。
お台所。
We're cooking?
いい匂
Let
い。
him cook.
この辺の鍋をそろそろ開けようと思ってね。はい、一口。
Where is this coming from? Hello? I was thinking of freeing up one of those pots. You want to tell me that this food was inside the pot the whole time and just it is cooking? I'm assuming the pot itself has like a heating casting seal, so it keeps it warm. Or even cooks it slowly, maybe? But he wants her to eat the whole pot. Nah. He probably is like, okay, try it. Does it taste good? We're going to eat it. We still have not had our welcome party. They did say normally there would be welcome party, but it was too last minute. He couldn't really get the stuff ready. But now that we had a little bit of time, maybe this is our welcome party dish.
はい、一口。美味しいでしょう。2年前に作ったシチュー。
What? 2 years old stew. Okay. I do like her little dance. Very cute.
美味しいでしょう。2年前に作ったシチュー。魔法鍋で出来たての時間を繰り返してるから腐ってないよ。大丈夫。
Okay, so this is essentially the same casting seal that we used last against the dragon, right? To get the pillory bad going. Casting seal that repeats the effect. Looks like it has a bunch of stuff going though. Which is interesting. That means it doesn't really keep the food warm, it just keeps it returning by death. Essentially, ReZero here. Which then is the question, what would happen if you do it on a body? I mean, you are not allowed to, but what would happen? Would you be immortal?
とはいえ、魔法は定期的に書き直さないと、すぐ
Ooh.
に経年劣化でダメになるからね。
Okay.
辛いもだ。これ
They're giant. They're holy crap.
美味しいですよね。
その辛いもを
Yes,
焼いておいてくれない
because
かな。焚き火玉の魔法が書けるようになったんだろ。
Time to burn down the kitchen. Yeah, I don't know what you believed would happen. Carrot Pass jams are heavy, so the sign of levitation needs longer rays. Okay. We are learning more. So the T's with the arrows are signs of levitation. Interesting. So the question is, what are the T's itself? We have seen those. Seems like it just focuses the power to one part. What about the pyramids or triangles? What do they represent? So the signs itself have different abilities as well. It makes sense. We have a bunch of the different ones. What about the circle thingies that his repeating spell had? What are those doing? We also saw a bunch of other ones. Right? I wonder, because we are learning more and more about the different sigils and signs, what they all represent and what they do. And it is a very fascinating magic system, because if I was in that world and I would be able to do the magic, I would play around so much. What if you have levitation signs on one side but not on the other side? What happens then? What about if you have because at the moment all of the casting seals are very symmetrical. Do they need to be symmetrical? I mean, they don't. Otherwise, it wouldn't fire even if you, whenever you made a mistake with one of the signs, made one too big than the other ones. Also, her flying apparatus she made on the test, that was not symmetrical. So then the question is, okay, what really happens if you don't? Under which circumstance, what if you have different signs on each side that do different stuff? On one side, levitation, on the other side, power, pushing. I'm assuming the T is like a push force. It pushes in that direction. And I would be very interested, after you learn all the different signs and sigils and the rules, could you go back to the first spell? To the ice breast dragon spell thingy that she casted, the big one? And could you decipher what it did? There were a lot of different signs on there. What about the signs as example for the winter way? Because we have like a wave outside. We have like the different circles. One of them has like a wave pattern in it. What does that signify as example? A lot of questions about the system that I hope we get answered in the season, at least partially.
あれ
辛いもは重いから冬の矢は長めにね。
Can you make a casting seal without a sign? I see no reason why you couldn't, right? So instead of having the fire sign, you just don't have a sign. So you have a little levitation area. Wouldn't that work? Or do you need a sign? Or sigil? It's not a sign, a sigil. Do you need a sigil for the signs to take effect?
火は弱すぎても偏っててもダメ。今度は魔文が大きすぎたね。
Sigil was too big. We are learning a lot, okay. Size of the sigil is power, okay. And how orderly you make the sides, how long it... What I hope is that after, because we seemingly are learning a lot about the sigils, the signs, how they correlate again. We did hear that very early on a little bit, but we are repeating some stuff and diving deeper, which is good. I would like to know, after we got the information, to see the levitation or the let's call it flying. It's not really flying, right? But the shoes is casting seal. I would like to see that again. I hope the show shows us that casting seal again, so we can try to decipher what each piece does.
さあ、続けてやってみようか。
Now, interesting. I'm guessing a lot of them activated, but it only is active for a little bit, and then it just stops. I also wonder with the levitating sigil, not sigil, sign, God damn it. With the levitating sign, does it matter how long the T, the top part is, how long the arrow is? We know the part that combines those two, the length decides the power. I wonder if the other parts also have a bigger meaning. Also, I do wonder how exactly, because the flying sigil or the shoe sigil casting seal they have, that one is mostly just pushing you in the direction, right? But they were also able to levitate. Was that maybe the back, the double circle? Maybe. It didn't have any signs though. It just had the double circle. Maybe a double circle negates the sigil. I could see that happening. So it would be like a levitating casting seal without the sigil, because the sigil's activation is negated through the double circle, maybe? So you just levitate? Oh no. I feel like this took a lot of fine tuning to get it to levitate exactly in the
上
flame.
手に焼けました。
わあ焼き加減も完
It
璧
looks like an avocado.
どうかなまだ眠い僕はね一番最初に上達したのは水の魔法だったんだ
Oh.
泳ぐのが苦手だったのもあるけど水に濡れるのが嫌いでねよく洗い物をサボるためにたくさん練習したっけなどうしようもない焦りがあって急いで学びたいと思うなら生活にしてしまうのが一番だよ生きることより教えるのがうまい先生はいないから
生活に。
料理はいいよ練習もできて美味しい
確かに。ああ、いい匂いがすると思ったら。
I mean, he's totally right. If you have a use for the magic you are trying to learn, it's going to be a lot easier to learn, or you have more motivation. Let's say that. Because you know the goal. In a lot of these learning parts, school as example, you are learning a lot of stuff and you don't really know why. It just, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Cool, why am I learning this? Here, if you have something you can see as a goal, probably a lot more motivational to learn. Additionally, it is a lot better to you see the cause and effect. She was able to, not perfect, but she was able to do this because she knew exactly what she wanted to do, get the fruit into the fire. I'm assuming it's the fruit. I do not remember. But gets the ball into the fire at exactly the right spot. So she needed to draw it over and over again until it exactly did what she wanted. And it took like 20, 30, 40 tries. But she got there.
思ったらなんか美味しいもの作ってる。はいはい、チーズとガスのテキヤがやる。魔法で焦げ目つけるのかっこいい。
二人ともごめんね今日はココにお願いしようと思ってていいかな
Making the cheese, huh? What? Okay, similar idea. Very small sign. A sigil. Very small sigil. Which gave this really small fireball. I do wonder if the sigil is bigger, so the fire is bigger, do you need stronger signs? levitation signs to propel it. So if you have a very small sigil like this flame, but very big signs, is it just going to fly off? Oh, you're making burgers.
完成。美味しそう。そうだ。どうせならお外で食べませんか？
いいね、ピクニックみたいで。じゃあ荷物を用意してくるよ。
And yeah, this is like the welcome feed.
あがとも。
Welcome feed, but welcome... Not festival, but party.
行こうよ。お外でお昼ご飯。
ご飯は作業しながら食べるから外は遠慮するわ。
Then you are not getting
それ
anything.
に
Oh.
雨だ。ついさっきまでいい天気だったのに。仕方ない。先生も水に濡れるの嫌いって言ってたし。
みんな
So he's just going to...
どうしてそ
He's just going to remove the rain.
んなにがっかりしてるんだい？
Going all Mushoku Tensei or not?
僕らは魔法使いなんだよ。それじゃ荷物を持って出発しようか。
Yeah, but you can't just say we are witches, remember? Just make a barrier around you so you don't get wet. Yeah, sure. How? Yeah, just, you know, one sigil and 2 additional sigil and like 15 signs, and they all need to be in a specific arranged in a specific way. So just do it. Just do the thing, right? Easy. I do wonder what the rain sound like. If it has this rainy sound, this is probably really relaxing. Imagine you have that rain sound, the smell of the rain, of the fresh grass, whatever the smell was called. And that while eating nice food, I mean. Sounds very relaxing.
ごらん、雨雲の終わりだ。ここ？
私、やっぱりアガット呼んできます。一緒に見たいんです。空が見せてくれた魔法。
Yeah, but she doesn't want to. Oh.
誰だお前。
Okay. I assumed this would be one of the brimmed hat people, but it's clearly not. I'm assuming a friend of Kifrey. Maybe someone related to Argot. There seems to be, we know as example from Miss, thank you for thanking me. She wants to leave behind spells. She wants to make new spells and leave those behind. Why, I don't really know. Maybe that is just her goal. Argot, we don't, as far as I remember, really know. She's very obsessed with getting better. She's like, oh, if you are not better than me, I am not interested in you, kind of thing. Maybe that is because of her parents. And this could be her dad or elder brother or whatever, who's all like, oh, you, Agod, you are a waste because you are still not perfect, kind of deal. You know, the good old anime parents or family who are just putting down their own family members, right? Or again, could be a friend of Kifri, but I'm guessing it's more related to Argot.
見ない顔だな。誰かの使いか、あらいらか。
私
ココ嵐が来そうだからみんなで。
私はキーフリー先生の弟子です。
I mean, it's nice that you are willing to stand up for yourself, but you are very cowardly hiding behind him, you know. On the other hand, she did get kidnapped just last episode, so I can see why she would try to hide. But yeah, he looks like a version of Agot, older one, essentially.
は？弟子だ？キーフリー。
やあオルーギオ、仕事終わったんだね。もう少しかかるかと思ってて。
なんで知らない間に弟子が増えてんだ。
これには事情があるんだ。彼女は禁止魔法の被害者で。
禁止魔法だと。おい
オルーギオ。
スバーリボーには関わりたくない。この子は魔系団に引き渡す。
待ってください。私
ココを連れて行くのは許さない。たとえ親友の君でもね。
俺に魔法を向けるほどだよ。
So not a
この
part
子は
of
一体何なんだ。
Okay.
とりあえず中に入ろう。事情を説明するよ。
So a friend of Keyfrey. Question is he living here also? Because he's like, I don't want to to have anything to do with the brimmed heads. Not knowing that she's more or less in the center of the whole brimmed heads thing going on. But he made it sound like he was also living here, but also he does not have any apprentices, or maybe Agot is his apprentice. Is that maybe the point? Because we know the other two are Keyfrey's apprentice and Coco is, but I don't know if Agot is one of his apprentices.
雲が切れたからやむと思ったのに。
I'm assuming.
雨さっきより強くなってきたね。いやー、今夜は荒れそうだな。確かに荒れそう。
それで例外的に知らざる者を弟子にしたっていうのか。
知らざる者なんて失礼だよ。彼女はココ。
悪いな、ここ。魔法使いじゃない人間を呼ぶ名前が他にないんだ。
I mean, she is a witch, right? She succeeded in the first test. She's able to do magic. I'm assuming she's a witch. Maybe she needs to be acknowledged by some kind of witch body, or she needs to do some other test, but she did succeed in the first test.
会うのは初めてだよね。
I feel like we have seen him
彼は
somewhere.
オルーギオ。このアトリエの見張りの眼だ。カルンや大講堂と違って、うちみたいな郊外の小さなアトリエはつい閉鎖的になりがちだから、問題が隠匿されないようにもう一人別の魔法使い、見張りの眼が滞在する決まりなんだよ。
今まさに問題を隠匿してたやつが悪びれもなく言いやがって。
あの日ココの記憶を消していたら、禁止魔法の書かれた絵本の手がかりも失われていた。彼女の母親を元に戻すためにもこれが一番いい手だと思ったんだよ。
What did you give her? The same as him? Some honey water?
手がかりだって。禁止魔法を調べるのは俺たちの仕事じゃないだろ。それは魔系団に任せておけばいいんだ。
I mean, he clearly wants to for some reason. And his friend probably knows the reason.
さっきから言ってる魔系団ってなんだろうって顔をしてるね。魔系騎士団、通称魔系団。
Out of moral spellcasting, aka the Knight Morales. Here's the problem. By having this system of magic casting spheres, as soon as you see a circle, you are like, is this the magic? Is this casting sphere? Because I see a circle right now. Is this casting sphere or not?
結託の日に定められた掟に従い、禁止魔法に手を出した者や魔法の秘密に触れた者の記憶を消し去る魔法を守る魔法使いたち。彼らは規則で動き、情を持たず例外を許さない。あんな人たちに預けたら、魔法への憧れの気持ちまで消されてしまうよ。
That feels a little bit too harsh. I mean, at that point, wouldn't it be faster to just kill them, right? If you just erase more or less everything, why?
ココはいい子なんだ。頑張り屋さんでお母さん思いで、何より魔法が好きなんだよ。秘密を知られてしまったのは僕の罪だ。ここから魔法の記憶を消すのなら、僕の記憶も消すべきだろう。
たく、あいつらの弟子入り志願を受けた時は、お前もやっと落ち着く気になったと思ったんだが、勝手にしろ。だが何か事件が起きたらすぐ大行動に報告するぞ。それが見張りのマナコの役割だからな。
But this time you are, turning a blind eye, essentially. However, understandable. He seems to be a very close friend of Kifrey, and he just took himself prisoner, which is understandable if the point is that you have to erase people that come in contact with forbidden magic, which he did, meaning that he probably needs to get his memories erased. If they ever find out, which makes me believe we are going to have a conflict at some point against them, where they want to erase the memories of us, but we have to fight them off.
キーフリー先生。
大丈夫。ココは自分の魔法で試験に合格して正式な弟子になったんだから。
Exactly.
堂々としてていいんだ。
Maybe that is why she's not a witch. She's just an apprentice.
さあ、みんな、風邪ひく前に湯あみをしておいで。
So are we going to find out what is
腕
your
虫。
reason?
でむし。筆虫どこ？
Is she going to make her make a mistake again?
筆虫待ってそっちは。入っちゃった。
Yeah, just knock.
ノックをするな呪われる。
I guess we will not knock.
失礼します。筆虫出ておいで。一緒に髪乾かそうよ。
おい、ノックをするなっていうのはな、入ってくるなっつう意味だ。
But you didn't write that. You wrote that she gets cursed if she knocks, so she did knock. She did not go against the rules, so checkmate. Why is the brush buddy so attached to, or interested in this.
聞いてんのかここ。
すみません。あれ、びちょびちょだったのに乾いてる。
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so more of these. I find these so interesting. Which also, you have a sigil, you have a bunch of signs, and then you do a magic circle, you get the fireball we saw earlier, bam. Fireball, cool. Fireball is sometime, at some point, the sigil is like, okay, I'm done, boop, fireball gone, right? But it seems like you can just redraw the circle and fireball again. Heck, fireball, yay! So, because these sigils work on that idea, right? Casting seals. That you have two halves, you combine them and bam, magic. You divide them again, magic gone. You put them together again, magic. So magic can be done as long as you want or as often as you want. Meaning that I feel like it would be better to not draw magic circles on paper. But on stuff that is somewhat durable, you could divide and put together again. Like maybe a clay tablet, as example. Or maybe stone. Have like two stones, you chisel the magic circle in. Gonna be a little bit harder, sure. And then you can just combine them again, bam, magic circle. Divide, magic circle gone. Right? Also, I want to see the magic circle we have. So we have, if I remember correctly, the wind sigil. But we have different, left and right we have something different, and up and down we have something different. We have some axes. What do they mean? It's also very small. Wait. The sigil, the size of the sigil is telling us the power, but it's not in relation to the circle, right? Right. Maybe. It seems very gentle.
ありがとうございます。
風邪をひかれちゃ困る。俺は見張り番だぞ。
体調も見張るんだ。
扉を閉め忘れたのは俺が悪かった。だがもう出てけ。何も触るの。だから触るなって。こ
の魔法。
Right. This is something I did not really register at the time, but at the time when she met the Brimmed Heads the first time, the stone she was standing on there was a circle around. There was a bunch of circles, to be specific. So there was a magic circle there. But I don't see one here. So how is this working?
この魔法。私が最初に魔法を好きになった魔法。踏むと光る石畳。
透析道は俺の代表作だ。石が二重になってて、重みで魔紋と陣が重なる。
Oh. You have one stone layered on the other, and weight makes the sigil and ring overlap. A different way to make the spell work, huh? Interesting. It is essentially the same idea as dividing, but you divide, instead of dividing the whole casting seal, you divide a part of the casting seal. I wonder, at this point, we have learned that you finish the circle last, and that is what activates the seal. So him having the circle separated and then put together again makes sense. The question is, can you do that with different stuff? Could you do that with the sigil? Because if you could make a supporting circle, which has all the signs and the magic circle. And then you could just change out the sigil and have different elements with the same effect. Like the levitating one for the fire, you could just remove the fire piece, put in a water piece, bam, now you have a water ball. Remove the water ball as a water sigil, put air sigil in, bam, now you have air. Now if that doesn't work, what you could probably do is have it combined, have the sigil and the circle combined. I don't know how exactly you would make that. But this way I could see, I mean, in the example with the levitating, not that hard to make, sure. But if you have a more complex spell, like the ice spell she casted, having a quick way to change the element probably would be very efficient to use, right? Also, we do have different sigil signs again. The sigil is a light sigil, I'm assuming. We did see it already at one point. It has a bunch of different signs that we don't know what they do. One of them seems to be a levitating sign. But the rest... One of them may be to put that spell on the person, because she was walking and every step she was taking had a light. So maybe that is one of them. But very complex. A lot of different signs we have not seen yet.
なってて、重みで魔物と陣が重なる単純な魔法だ。こんなもんどこにでも。何してんのお前。
光ってる。
そりゃそういう魔法だからな。
私にとってこの光は特別なんです。私が歩くと石も光って、まるで魔法の力が宿ったみたいで、ただ一歩一歩足を踏み出すのが楽しかった。悲しい思い出でもあるけれど。
I mean, this has to be really heartbreaking. You believe you unlocked the secret to magic, and then it's being ripped apart away from you again.
それでもこの魔法は私に夢をくれたんです。だからありがとうございます、ハルーギオ先生。
俺は先生じゃねえっつの。ほら行った行った。憧れの記憶も消されちまう。
Yes. Oh. We left the door open again, I see. I'm assuming all the other people that live here are like, you know, he doesn't want people to come in, so we're going to keep away even if the door's open. But for Coco, it's a little bit of an invitation, and he seemingly wants her to come bother him again. So he's, you know, little softy. Not gonna take long for Coco to
雨
But
や
I'm
ま
up.
ないね。
ええ。
私今日はリビングで勉強しようかな。アガッタも一緒にどう？
遠慮するわ。部屋の方が集中できるもの。
そっか。じゃあお昼になったら声かけるね。
So she's looking at the light sigil. Again, this is... You have to get over this. Now, I don't know if there's maybe something else going on. Maybe there is... Maybe she's very sensitive to noise. But if this little noise is going to stop you from being able to concentrate, it's going to be very hard to do magic, right? Again, unless there's something else going on that we may be able to change or fix.
いいわ。少しくらいうるさい方が訓練になるもの。
But now Coco comes in. Doing that eyes closed is insane. This also doesn't have a levitating sign, okay?
揺らぎはあるけど、前より安定してる。これなら次の試験もすぐ受けられる。
Now, which type of test? Test 2? Test 3? How many tests are there?
実務だって。よし、もう一度。
What?
何の音ですか？
状況は理解しました。ではその現場の様子を。
助けてください、魔法使い。お願いします。
わかりました。ひとまず落ち着いて。今準備をしますから。
どうしたの？
雨のせいで階段川の橋が壊れちゃって。川の真ん中に筋場所が取り残されてるみたい。危ないから誰も近づけないんだって。
あの馬車には私の息子も乗ってるんです。
ええ、分かっています。急いで向かいましょう。
お願いします。
実務。
I don't trust this situation. Also, you did not finish your test. You don't get to work outside,
で
right?
は僕ともう一人もこれからすぐに。
先
アガット、君たちは危ないからここで待って。
生。いえ、私も連れて行ってください。役に立ってみせます。
No,
必ず。
no. What do you mean you will be useful? You were unable to do a simple magic sealing. You were unable to do a casting seal while it was raining. You know? The rain was able to stop you from doing the casting seal. How are you going to be useful in a high-stress situation outside with all the wind, rain, and stuff going on? Meanwhile, there is most likely the dad going to be there and he's going to do a lot of noise. The son is going to do a lot of noise. There's probably also a horse, but who knows? There's a lot of distractions going to happen and you do not do well with them at the moment. So I feel like you are not going to be that useful. I would reckon the most useful out of all of them would be the blue-haired girl. She seems to do pretty well under high-stress situations. So yeah, this is, I feel like, going to go badly. But we got to see a lot of different casting seals We got to see how the lighting up stone path spell works, even though there were a lot of signs that we have no idea about how they work at the moment. And it's very hard to really understand how they work from just the little information we have at the moment. We have a different way how a spell can be manifested. We know the combining two halves works well, but also you can have a whole part missing, in this case the circle, and add that later to activate the spell, which is very interesting. Which also means you could probably make an endless spell, right? You could have a contraption of multiple spells that, because this one activates whenever someone pushes on top of the stone, so you could have a spell that targets that stone and pushes air onto that, activating the spell, which then activates a different spell, and you could have more, more or less a circle of spells going off, which could be very interesting. We will also see at some point probably even more ways to have spells ready whenever you need to. I mean, this is already a very strong idea. I do wonder how well it works with paper. I could imagine you have, because at the moment we have a casting seal, but we don't finish the circle. Finish the circle, we have the spell ready. Awesome. But what if we only have the inside of the casting seal ready, and then we have an overlay of a magic circle on a piece of paper that has the inside hollowed out. So we then overlay the hollowed out magic circle on top of the signs and sigil on a piece of paper. And then we have completed the casting seal, right? I do wonder how the tolerance there would work. Would that go? Would that work well? This way you could have different spells ready at any point, right? I don't know how you would combine that. No, I do. The little, I forgot the name again of the circle pads I have. One side has all the seals and sigils already done. And then you have the other side which only has the circle. So you can flip through to whatever seal you want, put the circle down, bam, spell. Put the circle up again, flip through to the other one ready, bam, circle down again, right? I do wonder if that works. Again, the magic system is really interesting. It seems very well thought out at this point. We will see if that is going to hold true after we find out a little bit more. But it all makes sense, which is very good. It gives you ideas of how stuff would work. I wonder, I reckon fans of the show made their own magic or casting seals. Just playing around with the orientation, different sigil signs, combination of those. And just made their own magic casting seals. Which, if the rules are as robust as they are at the moment, later on, I can see that being really fun. Now, would that work this way? We probably will never know. But the community could then decide, yup, this casting seal should work.